Hello, and welcome to the first Inferno podcast, possibly the last, depending on how the next hour or so goes. Probably won't be an hour. My name is Jonathan Selzer. I'm the reviews editor for Metal Hammer, and I'm with Gunnar Sauermann, who's a master of many trades. Introduce yourself, sir.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Well, I still write for Metal Hammer since 2001, but the German edition, sometimes for the slave driver from England you see over there, but not very often. I used to work for the Wacken Open Air until very recently. Before that, I worked for Season or Mist as a promoter, and I will be back in January, but I can't tell you which label yet as a promoter again. So you're not getting rid of me soon.
And most importantly, we are both Inferno veterans.
Indeed, because I've been there since 2001, which was the first edition.
2002 for me. You know, you're obviously the early adopter. I always update to the point something else, not the point zero.
You're kind of the first. You're only the first demo man, but I think first rehearsal tape is the only trueness that we gotta find. I stole that one from
so close. So the original idea of this podcast was you and me. We were going to sit in the foyer of the official hotel, Inferno Hotel, at 1 o'clock every afternoon, assuming either of us were both alive at that point, and we were going to talk about the previous day's gigs and basically bicker for 49 minutes, because if it starts at 1300, we might as well finish at 1349.
And people knowing us know we just keep on bickering about everything every time we meet anyway, although we have done that for many, many years. So bickering is kind of our thing.
It's what we do. So we're going to spread this to the world. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to review a virtual festival that actually never happened. And
so we're actually going to review the Inferno as it was supposed to be in 2020. Right now, and I'm sure you have been looking forward to this one for ages to hear about a festival that didn't happen from people you didn't know. Well, here we go.
And we're still going to bicker.
Probably goes without saying. Kind of.
So it's
a way of explanation. Like we forgot to mention that you're English, I'm German.
That kind of explains a lot about our relationship.
Probably.
So. It's day one. Some of us have just arrived, probably on very little sleep. Morning flight. It's stumbling into the venue at 4:30 in the afternoon.
And again, I have to disagree because you forgot to mention that we were last night out seeing Vrij doing their incredible thing at the Nobel Center. That was supposed to happen, so that was going to happen last night. So no early flights here.
The point still remains: we're still stumbling into the venue on very little sleep at 4:30 in the afternoon. And so we're the first band we're going to go and see is Djerv, which is a good warm up because how long have they been away for? Like 5 years?
I think 9 actually.
9 years.
Indeed. And I couldn't have been more happy to see Agneta back because I mean she has been around the scene for such a long time. First with Alpha Omega or whatever that thing was called, and then with Djerv, of course.
And of course I'm singing with Jimmy Borgir on.
And not to forget Rattentitten Texti for Sulefall.
Yeah. So and that's because she has one of the most unique and startling voices in the metal ballpark.
And of course, amazing stage presence, as we witnessed virtually, because it didn't happen last night. That was an amazing start, went off really well. Welcome back, Djerv, and yay, more like this, please.
Yeah, so explain to people who might not have been around 9 years ago, what they sound like.
It's very hard to do. They're very eclectic. They kind of mix anything from metal to chorish things to alternative to rock to pop to whatever, but it's really the lead singer's vocals that drive the whole thing. It's Agneta who is pushing it all. So basically it has to be experienced live, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And because like it mixes so many genres, what kind of takes you through the whole thing is like, some bands, they're not about playing one genre, they're about like, the way that the music unfolds is almost like a map, like a mental map of the person singing. And so it tends to be very unique. and this is a band that are very much that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other band sounding like that, and that's a great thing.
Have you heard the comeback what did you think of the comeback single?
Yeah, good start. Like, I'm looking forward to hear the album.
Yeah, it's very much I'm back.
Yeah,
on a song.
definitely. It's like I'm here. Here we are. Here we go. Fuck you all. Continuing where we left. As far as I remember, they played tons of rock last year, which was great. I hope it was that show because, like, yeah, last year was a blur. All in all, too many festivals, too many shows. I think it was a tons of rock, and if I'm wrong, correct me, somebody. But it was great.
Cool. My God, we actually agreed on something from the start. We need to.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. Let's go to Soul Brood.
We need to up our game. Yeah. So stumbling downstairs, Soul Brood in the John D. Got £10 or how much do you reckon the beers are this year? Around 98 kroner, 99 kroner.
And another fortune, and you get poor again as always. I do recall the first time I ever got drunk at an Inferno Festival on beer was because of Amon Amarth, actually. Johan Heck was standing next to me at the VIP bar going, Gunnar, you want another beer? I said, yes. And he just pushed this whole strip of beer bongs over, which I later learned had been acquired through the tour manager of Morbid Angel because they didn't want to come out of their bus into the backstage, so they didn't need them. And said like, oh, we're going to leave anyway pretty soon, so you can have them. I was like, whoa, I've never been so popular at that bar that ever before. That was actually where now you find all these stalls of like animal loving people and something like this.
You say animal loving, as in loving animals for their soul or for their taste?
Animals, as long as they're well grilled.
So yeah, I remember my I learned something very early on at my first Inferno, because I think it was only my second time in Norway, in Oslo. Don't buy rounds.
Oh yeah, that is ruining your life.
Yeah,
and your credit card.
It's almost seen as uncouth and showing off to buy rounds.
Yeah, not really a Norwegian thing. It's an English thing, I think, or an Irish one.
Yeah.
But yeah, not really Norwegian. And you get poor pretty soon. You'll notice. And they don't have this thing of like you buy a round, they buy a round, it will all equal out. Fucking hell, yeah. Shut up, everybody.
Okay. Turn off your notifications, Gunnar.
That one was important, so, but it doesn't matter. So anyways, cut that out, Christopher. Let's continue. So where we're stuck. Yeah. Yes. No, don't buy rounds. It's another thing. But back to Soul Brood. Yeah. Since I didn't care, I sent Tomasz Bata to review it. One of my colleagues, he likes death metal, so he gets all the crappy jobs.
They're not death metal, are they? They're more sort of they're kind of more black metal, but slightly on that kind of cusp between black metal and post black metal. So you know,
it's like they have potential, but that potential still has to grow, and as long as that is growing, do I care? Not particularly.
No, see, I kind of find that all these bands with like the post black metal dynamics, they all kind of sound a little bit the same. It's kind of poignant. It's got a little bit of a whoosh to it. But I kind of heard it so many times before, and I don't really see what they're doing that's different from anyone else.
But it could get somewhere. Like there is something there. So
yeah, but it's a crowded field. I mean, you've got the
yep.
You know, so many bands on the cusp. Like I'm only going to say this band because I love saying it. Viegedude.
What?
Viegedude.
Viegedude.
Viegedude. Okay, close enough. You know the Dutch.
Yeah, that's actually a good band. Definitely.
Yeah. So there's kind of a high bar with this kind of stuff. I mean, there's Mole, which is the British band that aren't quite so good, and
there's also this Austrian band, Herrenwalds would be a song that jumps to my mind when it comes to post-black metal. And my brain, of course, now giving me a hemorrhaging because I can't remember the name, but I should because I really like that band. Austria, Herrenwalds, check it up on YouTube. That's a fucking amazing song. And then you find the band.
Yeah, so nearly post-black metal, sort of just on that cusp between black metal and post-black metal. but not really getting.
Harakiri for the Sky, of course.
Of course, there you go. Yeah, they're a good band. They've got a lot of hardcore in them still as well too. That band. But yeah, so basically, bit of black metal, bit of post black metal. Not really getting the best bit of each of them. So
not yet. Because here we have another band, and I think that's also a #2 band, because there's one band that is actually better than them, although they're not bad. I'm talking of WADA, which are next on the main stage.
Yeah. Again, another band that are kind of black metal, but doing something just slightly outside of it as well too.
I think it's a straight copy from the textbook of Mugwa.
Well, yeah, they've definitely got those kind of melodic riffs, but I think Mugwa have a lot of their riffs from Nachmistium.
Which would be kind of funny, because now you have an American band, WADA, and you say the Polish band has more from Nachmistium. I think there might be an evolutionary correlation going on, a parallel evolution. I'm not really sure if anybody took anything from anybody, but with Nachtmystium, you have one of the top bands. I know a lot of people will now go, but Blake is an asshole. Well, he is not. He's actually what he wrote. He's an addict, and it's Black Metal Addicts Part 2, Assassins. Still a glorious album.
It is
album of the year in my Metal Hammer column, and so that is an important band. Then we have Mugwa, which are, of course, at the moment the go-to band, I think, in black metal. Everybody used to copy. The French band. Despel Omega. Thank you.
Despel Omega, yeah.
Everybody used to copy Despel Omega. My brain is stuck tonight. I need more wine. Definitely. They're like Despel Omega, and now it's actually Mugwa that everybody's trying to copy.
That's because they have.
WADA fits right into that mold. I don't think they're as good as Mugwa. They are still a really good band. It was well worth seeing it.
Yeah. They do have. Yeah, last time I saw them, they were playing with Girls Verd, and I thought they had a real emotional pull. But yeah, Mugwa have a kind of a power that you can't reduce it down to their influences, and it comes out on record. Yeah,
it's like Mugwa is continuing the magic of black metal, where you just stand there and you feel something.
Yeah,
and you can't really put your finger to it why, but it's there, and that is what black metal is about. And Mugwa just capture it. Great band.
Just utter conviction, and that's what you want from black metal. So that was good. Now 1914. What could that be a reference to? Looking at your backdrop behind you.
Well, I mean, that would be a little war later, because you were the first to actually bring tanks to the battlefield. Your British colleagues, the Mark I, this lumbering Hulk going into the trenches.
But, that sounds very British to me.
And, well, I mean, this Ukrainian band is totally dedicated to World War I, also in the imagery and their stage clothes and everything. To be honest, I seen them at the Eindhoven Metal Meeting last year. It was not as bad as I thought it might be. Unfortunately, from the Ukraine, we're never going to see Druth live, because Roman just doesn't want to, which is a shame, because that is the #1 band as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
And 1914, it's okay. It's a bit of blackish things, bit of deathish things, bit of melodic things. But all in all, nice concept, actually, nice visuals, but yeah, it's okay.
So it seems to be the way with like bands that's black metal bands that have war, or particularly the first world, the 2 world wars as their theme, that they tend to be a bit kind of plodding or workmanlike. I think 1949, like we have Eastern Front in the UK. We'll talk about Vreed later on. But yeah, they seem to be quite workmanlike, because it's not about anything kind of really spiritual in the typical spiritual black metal stuff. But 1914, they do have some interesting dynamics that kind of take them just a bit above being workmanlike. So
I didn't say it's crap, and I mean, you know me, I'm pretty blunt when it comes to that. So no, it's okay, but it blowing me away, no.
Yeah, I think I would have liked, or I did, watch 15 minutes, then went upstairs, had a cigarette.
Again, a band I probably would have given to my colleague Thomas Strata. You know him; he likes death metal. So, like, Thomas, you do this.
Yeah.
Right to have him around.
Yeah.
So now comes a band. I mean, that was one of the highlight albums of last year and pretty much surprising. And the first time kind of the Pope of black metal in Germany, which would be Robert Müller, ever admitted that I was right on something.
Yeah, they're kind of Inferno veterans as well. Did they play on that second or third year?
Probably. That's very hard to remember. I would have to look that one up. But yeah, they've been at Inferno more than once, that's for sure. But what I really like about them is, and especially now, that they actually came up with something new. And that was the argument between me and Robert at last Inferno, because I told him, like, your review for Kampfer was too low. You gave them only not enough points. And he said, yeah, it's a great album, but it's more as they've done before. And I told him, no, listen more carefully.
What a fool.
Actually, they're doing something new here. And he did, and he sent me a message which just went, you were right, great album. I was like, whoa, like that from Robert. That was a stunning moment, but yeah, and they're a really good live band. They have always been. Dolk is really pulling it off. And the last album really put the band again on a new level, and they did sound like Kampfer, but they tried out something new here, and it works goddamn bloody well.
It was more epic, wasn't it? It had just a huge, like that last album had a huge sound, and it comes across live.
It did, yes, it has a huge sound, but like they did a lot of tweaks and twists and new things here and there. It's like, if you really dive into this album, you'll discover a lot of things that Kampfer hadn't done before. They still managed to make it sound like Kampfer. They didn't go off and sound like a completely different band. It's Kampfer, but they progressed again, and I think that's an amazing feat for a band that has been around for so many years. And as you probably rightly pointed out, has been at one of the first 3 Infernos.
Yeah, bit of a black metal heartthrob, that man.
I think they're underrated, bit underrated, but hopefully that's changing it. And if anybody here hasn't checked out their latest album, do so now. I'm a German, I order you.
Yeah, but I think Dolk is also like a really quite, he's a really strong front man.
Come on. Yes.
Yeah, I think even the most heterosexual man would have to admit that that's a fine specimen of a human being.
Talking about heterosexual man, Sylvain.
Yes. So
she's anything but a man.
Yeah. So sort of, on the more wishy-washy end of the black metal spectrum.
It's not really black metal, is it? It's atmospheric music. Like the female front woman here. Like Catherine, she's doing everything when it comes to composing music, ideas, and I think she's doing actually a really good job there.
Yeah, see, I actually like Sylvain, but normally I kind of dislike pretty much, like when I say that kind of post metal, that kind of dreamy post metal. So it's not so much I have a love hate, like for instance, like with obviously there was a lot of influence of Alcest there.
Yeah, well, that's hardly surprising.
Yeah.
We're not mentioning private things here, but I mean, it is hardly surprising in this case. But could hardly be a better influence than Alcest, which is a band I dearly love. I mean, basically, if you want to be really true and spelled with a V, you cannot admit to liking Sylvain. I still did. So let's not mention this too much because we get shit for it. But
no, fuck it. We've earned the right. We have metal capital. We can say we like Sylvain. It's fine. I mean, she's playing at Inferno. It's not like the room's full of people,
and it's not true.
Yeah, but it's not like there's a room full of people like nervously looking around saying you didn't see me, right?
The good thing is that it's good to see something different from a time to time.
Yeah,
and
see,
that definitely was. That wasn't. I mean, especially after Kampfer, nice contrast.
Yeah, see, I don't. It's not so much like a love-hate relationship with Alcest. It's like a begrudgingly hate relationship with Alcest.
That is a very English thing to say. I can say I embrace them wholeheartedly. I just love what Alcest are doing. I mean, all their last albums are just stunning.
Yeah,
it's extremely beautiful. They put it live on stage, and I hope that Jan Martin from Inferno Festival is booking them as soon to Inferno as he can. Jan Martin, are you listening? You need Alcest. You definitely do.
See, I always found them kind of really drippy. And let's talk up to.
Hey, aren't you the guy who's always up for spiritual and That's definitely a spiritual band.
Yeah, but it's just wishy-washy, dreamy. Hello, I'm not going from A to B. I'm kind of floating around, sort of like somewhere in between.
Well,
Just
what the fuck? They're doing this extremely well. So what's your problem?
well, see, I grew up with all the stuff that
But Alphas didn't
it's
play, so we should actually jump on to the next band. We have a bit of a time limit, so just reminding you because you'd like to waffle and waffle.
yeah, but I begrudgingly found myself quite liking the later albums. What is it? Shelter, the one that had no black metal whatsoever?
Yeah, I think it was that one.
Yeah, see,
And?
but I got well, just it was the most wettest thing I'd ever heard. So I almost made it an art project about how much I could hate that band at the time.
So what? I
And
still love that album. I still think it's great.
See, I grew up with Slowdive, and Slowdive weren't in any way a metal band, and that was still darker than that album. So
Well, it wasn't intended to be dark. Like Nish did whatever he wanted to do, and I think he did that extremely well.
yeah, but neither in the
And
same way, neither was
That
Slowdive.
song is absolutely great, despite the fact that all the metal fans will probably go, "But it's not metal." I don't care.
It wasn't just that it wasn't metal. It was just it was drippy, and
It was bloody honest. Was actually straightforward out of his head.
Yeah, it's saying.
But anyway, we're not going to agree on this. We're finally in the bitching part. But
yes,
I hope we agree on the next. I hope we're agreeing on the next artist because that is probably
Ishan.
Let's face it. There's Beethoven and there's Ishan. It's a musical. We have a musical genius here. My wife would probably complain again, "Oh, you're just worshiping him." That's not true. I just think this is an amazing musician. We're talking about the mastermind behind the more blacker side of Emperor.
No one needs to see my knees.
And with his solo career, he's showing different facets of his artistic work with every new album. It's never the same. Like, he has an amazing range. He's an amazing guitarist. I remember standing at Inferno next to a musician, I'm not naming names, staring at the stage, then turning his head around to me going, "I fucking hate him." I'm like, why? He's not even looking when he's doing all these complicated things on the 8-string guitar. And yeah, well.
Disgusting.
Yeah, probably. For musicians. I'm not a musician, so I don't care.
Yeah,
but so amazing show. Again, it's Ishan.
Yeah,
could have played some more Emperor cover versions, though, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I'm glad he kind of keeps them separate, especially when he did Emperor and Ishan back to back that one year.
Yeah, that was also super great. I mean, there cannot ever be enough Emperor, as far as I'm concerned. Which also reminds me of the Inferno year when the head of press gave me 4 photo passes. Everybody just got one song, and so you got like Ishan, Emperor 1, Emperor 2, Emperor 3. And luckily she gave me Emperor 1, Emperor 2, Emperor 3. And then she put another sticker on, and I had to look down and it said Emperor Groupie. The hell?
Well, someone else being very honest in that case.
Yeah, well, it was like one of the Inferno highlights to see Emperor play there. Twice or thrice now. 2 times or 3 times. Hard to remember again.
One of the things that will feed your misanthropy when Emperor played Bloodstock in the UK, who's the band who does the Crabulon, that kind of jokey British metal band? His name I kind of forgot. Evil Scarecrow. They had more people watching at Bloodstock than Emperor.
I think that Brexit was the best thing England could ever do. Get out right here. Like, sorry to say, but I mean, this was just disgusting what you said. So Ishan, genius. We don't have to say much more. Genius show, genius concert. I hope he played Frozen Legs on Mars, because it's that song. And I really hope he did, but you never know because you cannot calculate what he's ever doing.
Yeah, but every album song, it feels like a journey. I mean, I love Das Seelenbrechen, his most out there album.
Das Seelenbrechen, Nietzsche.
Yeah, but just his most out there. That and After is just like all the feels with the
breaking of the soul. You'd love that.
Yeah. Just whenever the sax comes in, it's just like, ugh. So, it's like.
Wait a second, wasn't that done by Mr. Shining?
It was Jürgen Munkeby, yeah.
I really hate one instrument. I love bagpipes, don't get me wrong, so it's not reed instruments in general. I love the clarinet, but I fucking hate the saxophone, except for very few songs like Jerry Rafferty, Baker Street. But generally, I fucking hate the saxophone. But Jürgen Munkeby managed to explain that damn thing to me, and I actually liked some of the things he was doing with it.
I mean, it's Shining. They sound like a traffic jam and an alien planet. But some of the in a good way. But some of the heaviest bands in the world, not necessarily metal bands, have had saxophones. John Zorn,
Really?
John Zorn,
Ooh,
John Zorn, the New York saxophonist.
is that
Like,
metal?
yeah, he does sax over kind of metal covers and really fucked up stuff. And there was a English band called God, which is one of the heaviest bands in the world, and
Ooh,
everyone would God back in the 90s.
never
And they were so heavy that everyone but 10% would leave within the first 10 minutes.
Ah, so a typical English band. Everybody leaves in the next 10 minutes.
Well, it's because people couldn't handle their craziness. And 2 drummers, about 10 people on stage, and the
Of
people
course,
remaining.
this is excluding My Dying Bride, Anathema Paradise Lost, Winter Filler,
Yeah, but
and wait a second, Skyclad, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. Not everybody's leaving for those bands the first 10 minutes, and I think I could name about 100 more if I thought to write about it. But do you remember good old Headbangers Ball?
of course.
You know what the crappiest thing about that show was? All the useless English bands they liked to play there. And it was like total load of crap, and you had to wait for ages until you got to the very end of it. And that actually got me into one of the things that got me into black metal. Waking up after having fallen asleep about a deluge of English useless bands that basically played hard rock and not metal anyways. And seeing some complete idiots painted black and white standing on some mountain playing incredible noisy stuff. And I was like, what the fuck? And I woke up
has to be
staring at my TV. You might guess which it was.
Immortal, I imagine.
Definitely so. Blazek, Mighty Raven Up. And then comes this acoustic part. And I'm like, what the hell? Next day I went to buy the record. That really worked well. One of the things that got me into black metal. The other things you might hear about later, but not necessarily. But Immortal was also one of the bands that played Inferno quite early. And I remember like that
must have been the first year. I don't remember playing them in my early Inferno days.
Must have been one of their first years. I remember Abba being there. Olwood turned out to be a super nice guy. I mean, there are a lot of people criticizing him, but like, if there is a great bloke, we know he has issues, but he openly spoke about that. But he is a great guy.
A genuine individual. Like a very genuine man.
And it was a super shame that one year where it really went bad at Inferno and we only got a gig of, was it 10 or 12 minutes?
I wasn't at that one.
And it was really like, because there were people coming from very far to see him. And well, this is just bloated. But yeah, I mean, kind of the same as with Guns N' Roses gigs where you never knew what we were getting. But yeah.
But now he's back in form, and the last time he played in the UK, he was on absolute fire.
I heard the whole last tour seemed to have been going really well. I hope this continues like that, and there will be. I hear things tweeting into my ear that there will be a new Abbott album is in the making. I have a spy, and just heard that they're on it. It's not done, not finished, or anything, but they're on it. We will get more stuff.
Yeah. He calls me Jonathan, you know.
Well, you always know like how to make a novel, but like
you know, Jonathan.
But he's a damn good guy and a damn good musician. Anyway,
we have moved very far, of course. So we're all going.
Belzer. Mention Belzer. We cannot go out of this without mentioning Belzer.
Well, we've still got 2 more bands. Yeah. But Belzer, worth the hype.
It's a funny thing. I've seen extremely boring shows of Belzer, and I've seen shows that just blew me away. So the answer is yes, no.
Yeah, I think
it depends really on the show. So we could have witnessed, if that had happened, an amazing show just starts to flow. You know, you get that vibe when a show starts to you just get into it and you feel the flow and everything, and it takes you somewhere else mentally. I remember kind of having a visionary bloodbath in John Dewey when Sano played back then.
I remember that, all my hair standing on end.
They just blew me away. Like I think the whole John D, and I had these visions of everything splattered in blood, just because of the music. I didn't take any drugs or so. And of course the beer was too expensive for me as a poor student to get really drunk. It was the music taking these visions. And Belzer can get like the same, but I've also seen shows where it just didn't flop. So like, if this wasn't a good show yesterday and you've seen Belzer for the first time, I would recommend do it again.
Yeah. But there's something about Belzer that even if you're not really into death metal, like there's something about this you get.
I don't think it's death metal.
It's got those kind of elements, but it's so unique.
And there's sludge in it too.
There's always something about two-piece bands.
And drone.
Yeah. But something always about two-piece bands that.
Well, there's Manta on the other end, but Manta are more rock and rollish. But these guys are amazingly super dudes. Like
but there's something about two-piece bands that always they never sound like two-piece bands. They sound huge, like probably because they overdrive the guitar. Like
well, of course, there's a ton of electronic trickery.
He's got a guitar to a splitter.
Of course, talking about two-piece bands.
Yeah.
Despite their fall from grace, but there is tons of electronic trickery. But obviously, it has to be there. Anybody complaining about that? It's a two-piece band. God damn it.
Yeah, but the thing is, it changes something super primal through those guitars. But this is what that band God used to do. They'd have this kind of crazy noise, but they'd have this absolutely totally magnetic rhythm section holding you together. So you'd be magnetized by the drums.
Are you trying to convert me to an English band again?
Yes. Yeah. If you ever hear this band called God, there were lots of different bands called God, but the God of the 90s, the '90s. The main guy who also played the saxophone is a guy called Kevin Martin, and he does the
Talking about atheists, I just have another memory from the Inferno Festival, because that was the first time the guys from Atheist were running into their promoter. And I don't know if you've met them, but they were starting to look up at me going, if we had known that big, we would never have given you so much trouble as a promoter.
Does this guy never end? Is there no end to this guy?
We would have never given you so much trouble as a promoter. I was like, okay, next time. But that's super nice dudes. Despite the fact that they're playing death metal. And even worse, technical death metal.
Yeah, your fave, right?
Oh, God. Well, let's talk about the band that I will know you're going to whine and complain and bitch about. The headliner tonight is Amorphis. And that
I'm not going to whine. I'm ambivalent. I have pros and cons.
You're ambivalent.
Actually, no. What am I talking about?
No. Like gender fluidity, as everybody's talking about these days?
No. I do. No. Actually, I'll tell a lie. I do hate them. Sorry, you continue.
I knew it. I love them to bits. Melodic Finnish metal.
I don't hate them.
I even like their old death metal stuff, like a song like Black Winter Day, still one of my favorite. Tony being this deepest growls that you could ever find. And then they got Tony Joutsen being the singer, and I mean that he really pulled the band back on track. They've been churning out great albums one after one after one after one. So anything they could have played last night would have been great. Knowing ASAP, he would have, the musical mastermind, he would have probably adapted a little bit to Inferno and given us a lot of old school songs. Which is what Inferno wants. We know Inferno. If you play your newest crap, does anybody remember the Tiamat gig, the one that emptied the hall really quickly because he started with Vote for Love, which wasn't the best idea. I remember, like, not naming names, a huge Norwegian bass player and singer coming towards me going, I knew this was going to be crap and I'm leaving. That was, and yeah, he was right. It was horrible. But no, Amorphis know what to do with an audience, so they would have given us a lot of old school last night. And you might look as bitter and sour as you want. Love that band, love melodies. I'm old, I'm really old, I'm older than you are. And of course, I like melodies. You just like senseless noise.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
You're a Swans fan, right? Senseless noise.
It's just that, okay, I don't mind this, some of the progressive elements. It's just wrapped up in this kind of layer of cheese. And
what you call cheese, I call melody.
Yeah, but it's just, melody. I don't know, it's just too kind of upbeat and rah-rah for my kind of taste. I'm still like it.
Yeah, my Norwegian wife.
You know, bitter and unmelodic, and you know, you can be a great headline band without being really kind of cheesy.
But you know why they're a headline band? Because a lot of people like what they're doing.
Oh yeah, of course.
Please go. I'm with them because, yeah, great band. Whatever you, and of course my colleague Thomas Strata would probably have whined and complained about it too. But all you sausages out there, go and screw yourself. That was a great band, great headliner for Inferno. And if you didn't like it, just get out of the hall and get yourself a cheaper beer.
Well, enjoy your middle ground. Your soft middle, your mushy middle ground. And
wimpish sounds from the week. Let's move on to the next day, Friday.
Yeah. So I think we actually both have love affair with this band.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the last time they played at Inferno, everybody.
It's Hamfest, by the way, from Faroe Islands. We should mention that.
Indeed, everybody and also I think I'm kind of partly instrumental for getting them back to Inferno again, because the guy behind the Inferno Festival, Jan Martin, kind of cock-blocked me on Iceland, where they were playing the Reykjavik Metal Fest, by ordering a huge dinner, and I had missed them. Next problem was I didn't even taste half of the dinner because of my allergy, and which meant I missed Hamfer for nothing. So afterwards, I complained to him and told him, okay, you made me miss one of the two bands, the other one would have been Owen, that I really, really wanted to see at this festival, and that was Hamfer. And so now you have to book them for Inferno, and he did, which is really nice of Jan Martin. And yeah, and last time they played at Inferno, everybody from the German Metal Hammer crew, which was Melanie Aschenbrenner, Robert Müller, and me, independently put them on the top of our top band.
Yeah, I was there. That was the old Victoria
venue. It was
venue.
An amazing show. These undertakers from that little island group in the Atlantic, in between the Orkneys, Iceland, and Norway, just amazing. And whatever they're doing is just great.
So I think so. It's just in case everyone wonders what the hell we're talking about. So they're funeral doom, but
not really.
It's doom.
Funeral in a very literal sense, because they all look like undertakers. But they mix that with that
kind of
fairies melody, gospel-y. They did that for one song and it never stuck to them. They don't always do that.
But the main thing is Jorn's voice.
But it's also the music. I mean, everything in this band works. The keyboard, the drums, the bass, the guitars, everything floats together. It creates an atmosphere and a feeling, which again, I think is something that a black metal fan wants. He wants emotions and he wants to feel something, as opposed to death metal, which is just hammering out notes at high speed, being as brutal as you can.
I'd say you're a Philistine, but actually you don't understand Philistinism well enough to enjoy death metal.
I'm not reading the Bible every day.
So, but anyway, but so the singer Jorn has this incredible operatic voice. That's just like
an awesome growl.
And an incredible growl too. But yeah, so when he goes from one to the other and they sort of, it's just like literally time stops. I remember watching him at they played at Midgårdsblot, and I was standing with your former boss Michael Berbian from Season of Mist. And the minute he goes into the big operatic, like we literally turn around to each other just to like say like, you heard that as well, right? I'm not imagining this incredible angelic voice, and it's Michael so moving.
Michael liked it.
Yeah, we were like literally when Jorn goes into the operatic vocals, we were just literally jaw drop staring at each other, like we had to confirm to each other. We just didn't imagine that.
Yeah, they're blowing everybody away. I mean, that is a great band. There's no doubt about it. And well, if you haven't, get all their albums right now. And again, that's a command. I'm a German.
They don't have many albums.
I have to do this German thing from time to time. There's actually
3.
Okay, don't get me to count albums or remember things like, the best guy for this kind of thing is Alan from Primordial.
Oh yeah,
If you ask him like, how many albums do you have Hamfer released? Because I'm now in between 3 or 4. And Alan would just go bam and give you the right number next second.
Yeah.
Any metal quiz with him, you win. If he's on your team, you're the winner.
Yeah, he wins every metal quiz ever.
Indeed, rightly so, because he's a walking library of metal. Unbelievable. I think I only got him once. The question was, who was opening for? That was a particularly Irish one. Who was opening at McGonagall's for Skyclad? No, it wasn't Skyclad. It was Sabbath. English Sabbath, if you remember the band. Yeah. Martin Balke and everybody.
Of course I remember the band. They're
History of a Time to Come. Great albums. Great band. And anyways, and who was opening at McGonagall's? The answer was Toranaga. Few people remember that band. Another English band. English band.
Yeah. Well,
you are responsible for that one. It's like Brexit. You're responsible for that one.
I don't know if they were like this, but
we got sidetracked. We should talk about Golden Core, which, I would have read the name and given it to Thomas Strate immediately, so I can't say anything about this band. I hope you can.
So they're like one of the biggest hype bands around at the moment, or kind of the underground. Two young kids, very, but in a kind of Mantar vein, but they're ridiculously young. Like when they played at Midgårdsblot, like no one could get into the Gilderhaller. Like it was just rammed. Everyone was just, and so I bet, like sometimes every Inferno, there's like one band that totally packs out that everyone's trying to get in to see. Like remember, like 1349 played their first gig at John D.
Yep.
When they did it, when strangely, and it's very pleasing for me, when Anauna Thrak played at the John D, and it was just you just absolutely rammed, and like the amount of love for that band, and also probably the only band of that day.
Understood that one. You're right, but actually, I wouldn't have mentioned Anauna Thrak because I remember one of the very first bands doing one of the very early gigs at John D, and it was amazing. And I remember talking to kind of the band, let's say, leader at the time, sadly gone, a certain Balfar, and he had that amazing Sogna dialect, and I remember Sogna Maul, and I remember him telling him like, "Whoa, I didn't know you had that many fans," and he like stared back at me with big eyes and went, "We didn't know either," and that was Vindir.
Yeah,
and that was like, that show was just historic. It was just amazing, and like goosebumps still thinking about it. There were that year there were two amazing bands, Vindir, and the other one I discovered was an Estonian band, Vimagevegi, the album Manatak. That was also like, I really would have loved to see that band more often doing their old stuff, but they kind of disappeared, didn't play very often. But that was one of the early Inferno highlights, was that Manatak show. Just amazing, and it was good. But like that Vindir show, yeah, historic, and I think all the Sogna metal fans remember it very well. I would have
the two in there.
Mentioned that before something.
I know on a threat. Come on, they were on the label you used to work for, and also they were the only band.
Do I have to like every bloody band? No.
How can you not like a No on a Thrack? They were like,
it's very easy. It's completely useless and overrated, and it's just a bunch of.
Oh my god,
nice guys, but yeah, musically, no, they don't talk to me. May I remind you of Amorphis at this point? Amorphis.
Yeah. See, you're kind of Amorphis. I'm an Anathrak, different ends of the spectrum.
Probably.
Like,
yeah, it's just not my end.
Like,
anyway, you need to move on. So Cadaver.
Yeah, just to say about Golden Core. So basically, they've got that kind of two-piece feel, like bit Mantar-esque kind of groove and overdriven guitar.
You know what? I have already Manta. I don't need another band in that sector. So Strata, you do the review. I'm out.
Okay. Well, they're only going to get better, and I can see why there's a big hype about them.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, strong words from an important person in the metal scene. So, kids, you might want to check it out, but I would say check out Manta before if you have.
Oh yeah, do that too, because they fucking kill.
Yep. Anyways, and the Northern Germans, which makes them very sympathetic to me. They're not Bavarian. Cadaver.
Featuring a metal legends in their ranks.
Who?
Anders Odin. Am I thinking of the right Cadaver? There's many Cadavers.
Maybe we should move on to Asagram.
Are you confused over which Cadaver played?
No, the one with a K are the ones from somewhere else. I think Berlin or something.
This is with a C.
And this is the one from C, which is Norwegian. They have been around for many years.
Used to be Cadaver Inc.
I remember their notorious website.
Why was it notorious?
Because they were offering to get rid of the bodies that you produced.
Okay.
I think they had to close it down by the authorities or something. And like people took that far too serious. But anyways, if you want to elaborate, please do so.
No, just some bands, you know, they're you know, the experience really shines through. And is a legend in the metal scene, you know, played with Mayhem, played with Satyricon, as his other band Order, which is also awesome, and just one of the best dudes in.
You know, Anders never fails to mention that he also played in Celtic Frost.
Oh, in Celtic Frost, yeah.
You forgot that, you naughty boy.
He will never forgive me.
I look sternly at you.
That was very Camp Stern.
Mm.
That's like, you naughty boy.
Right. Okay. Like, feel reprimanded right here and there.
Only vaguely. A mere graze. Moving on.
Ah, yeah. Because next is a band. Oh yeah, wait. I forgot that we should mention Asagram. You want to say something about Asagram?
Yeah, they're amazing. I mean, like, there's a lot of kind of workman-like black metal bands, and then there are bands that you really feel it. First time I saw them, I was just like transfixed. You know, they've got a very ritualistic feel to them that it just kind of builds and builds, but you can tell that there's actually some black metal bands, they're just a rock band dressed up in black metal clothing. This is an all-female band, and you can tell that it's like something, like there's a genuine something being channeled through them, and it's like being hit by an alternating current, and it just, so, you know, there's a kind of repetition to the riffs that just build and build and build, and it's yeah, one of the black metal bands that really channel something from beyond. But and just really heavy as well, and they look, you know, they
damn, you triggered another
yeah, and they feel like a gang, even though it's only like two. I think there's only like two core members, and they have like a live drummer. I think, I could be wrong, but anyway, yeah, black metal as it should be done.
You as the women's man here.
Yeah, but that's black metal as it should be done.
But I wish to say that at this point, we do need more women to actually not just hang in the backstage, but pick up a damn instrument and get on that stage. So I'm really happy about this band to being here, and there should be more of it.
Especially if they're as good as that. Right.
Yeah. So next, because now, like, yeah, I sang for the Swans.
So I imagine you're not excited about the return of Red Brenzender, or are
Actually, you couldn't be more wrong.
Ah.
That's because I sang for the Swans. So, like, the End of the Rainbow, that's something like the Irish are thinking of gold here, but Norway, you might think of a band that has been progressive before the term ever entered. Like,
yeah, like basically, I think they're the ones most responsible for the whole kind of wave of progressive Norwegian BM. Like when I hear, you know, progressive, you know, that kind of offshoot of Norwegian black metal, it all kind of reminds me of Red Brenzender, partly because of Carl Michael, who did Virus after that, and so, and you could hear, but you could hear in some of the in loads of other kind of avant-garde black metal bands, like
these difficult French words.
Like Code, and like which is like half English, half Norwegian originally, and you can tell that it all kind of stems from Red Brenzender.
I think that's nicely summing it up, but of course that is also connected to one of the hardest Inferno memories ever to relive.
Yes, I was there that year.
People crying in the backstage.
Hmm.
That was it hurt, because that was the year, of course, that Carl Michael, let's say, had the accident. And it was very close of him losing his legs, and he has been clawing back to life and to the surface ever since. I mean, one cannot praise somebody more for the sheer effort of will to get back into life. And I mean, there are all the bands that Carmichael's involved in. There's Au Revoir, of course.
Yeah.
We should mention that is also an old Inferno favorite. And yeah, one cannot highlight it more. So the return of Wetwind's Ende is and will be something very special in this context. And it happened during an Inferno, and it was a very hard time. And that is probably the harshest memory in a dark way that I have of Inferno.
Yeah,
when
20
that
years.
happened. When that happened. But at the same time, it's also a story of success, of will, of triumph. And so to see Wetwind's End return, and that will hopefully happen again in 2021, and I think it has already been scheduled, that will be a very important moment. And it's important on a musical level, because this band, as you rightly pointed out, oh, damn it, we're agreeing again, was ahead of its time. And it also is important on a human level, and it's also important on a meaningful level of what the Inferno Festival stands for, being the gathering of the Norwegian scene. So in many respects, this is a very special gig, and there's more connected to it than just the band standing on stage. So get your asses next year to in front of that stage and make sure you're there and you're not missing it. Because
I mean, because we've all seen Virus and you've all seen, you know, by way of contrast, Au Revoir, and it's been great. But I think, having Wetwind's Ende come back is as a kind of very special, sort of connection.
That is something great.
Yeah, I mean, it really was a catalyst in the Norwegian black metal scene, and underrated.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a taste for the many; it was a taste for the few, I guess. But it has been great, and as long as they do a thing for the Swans, I will be worshiping them in front of that stage, despite the fact that usually progressive and technical isn't really my thing. But here I'll make a difference. So we all agree, but that means we move on to the great old ones, because great.
Hell, Cthulhu.
I'm not really allowed to say too much because I promoted them, but great guys. I love their promo pics where they were all coming in there
out of the sea,
out of the water, out of the sea. That had that Lovecraftian feeling to it, which is what they're all about. And they're pretty high up on the billing, which hopefully means they have been successfully advancing. I wouldn't say it's utter brilliance what is delivered here, but it's really good. It is solid. It comes as a full package where everything has been thought through. And I would say these Frenchies did really damn well yesterday, which virtually at least.
I think like basically them and the Vegana Freiheit, they both got a kind of a parallel thing.
They're different though.
Yeah, but they've both got this kind of epic black metal feel. That's not about mountaintops and
true. But I still think they're musically quite different. Which isn't saying that I'm not saying that the Vegana Freiheit isn't the greatest band around.
But the epicness of the great old ones comes from like the sense of like journeying through something. It feels like you're being pulled through a wormhole and there's like some kind of glimmering light at the other end or something.
You intellectual.
Yeah.
Well
good. Yeah, but anyway, when I listen to both the Vegana Freiheit and Great Old Ones, you feel like you're being drawn. You're in this kind of traction beam, and you're being drawn towards something, and you're going to come out the other end of this kind of either brilliant light or the abyssal realms where Cthulhu dwells or something. But it's but it really live they really kind of keep you in the moment. And but it's a moment that always feels in transition, like you feel like you're journeying constantly, and I think they're amazing live band.
And of course I couldn't miss them. Great dudes once again, and I hope we're gonna see more of them. And nice of Inferno to put them high up the bill. Next up,
Gorgoroth,
one of my oldest buddies around in this black metal scene. I have been dragged on tours by Infernos more than once. I remember Metal Hammer Germany asking me like, "Are you sure they're not going to kill you?" As
Very nice guy.
As you know, their former singer has been my best man when at the wedding in Iceland, and we're talking Gorgoroth. We're talking true Norwegian fucking black metal, and it's the real deal, and there's no way around. And I think with the return of a good singer, because what happened after Chris Gall left wasn't great.
No, that first gig with Pest was bad.
It wasn't only that one. I think it was just like, that was a nightmare. But once Huis joined live on stage, who happens to be the frontman of what is probably at the moment Norway's remaining kind of, let's say the word dangerous. There's always this sense of there might be something happening, and there's a danger involved. Talker, of course, I'm talking about, which is when you see it live, that's the bad boys of Norwegian black metal still.
He's kind of like the black metal Iggy Pop, isn't he?
Nicely put, once again. But I think once he became the live singer of Gorgoroth, it was like a switch was turned on again. Yeah. And that, I mean, yeah, I couldn't be called the biggest fan of the last album output or the one before, but live, they became a power again. With and that, it's really like once Huis joined. So reviewing the band, never played, of yesterday, I would expect this to be one of the true highlights of Norwegian black metal at Inferno, with Gorgoroth just hammering away a bunch of the classics, being frightening, terrifying, being the embodiment of what Norwegian black metal stands for, and that is what Gorgoroth can pull off on a good day, and I expect them at Inferno to do exactly that, as they have done it before.
Yeah,
that is the definition of Norwegian black metal. Bam, end of story.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're good live. They've got obviously they've got a really good frontman. But I kind of missed the almost kind of transcendent aspect when Gar was there. But that's just because Host and Gar as even though they're probably the two of the best frontmen in black metal that exists, they are very, very different. They're both bring something very, very different to it.
Sure. But I think they're both great in their own right. And I mean, it speaks volumes that Infernos has always managed, except for that intermediate period where he returned one of the old singers that should have never gotten a microphone. But he's always been able to get the right people into his band. He's always been able to pull it off. I mean, Gorgoroth is his thing, and he managed always to keep it going.
Yeah, even though the last two albums,
prolific band, it isn't the most band that is coming out every year with an album. But God damn it, when you see them live on stage, you just know that is black metal.
Yeah. The last album felt like a bit of an afterthought. It was like badly underproduced, and it just kind of went under the radar. It's just so I think with Gorgoroth, it's like their sort of cachet is kind of more historical now.
Yeah, but I mean, they were ass kicking last night virtually. It's not a dead band. It's not something you can write off, and you'll never know what comes up next.
Yeah. It's funny how when Gars Verd were first playing live, they were only doing old songs as well.
But they did old Treldum songs. Finally, I got to see Treldum songs live. I Stig. I was just dying, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah, Stig's one of the greatest black metal songs.
We're talking about Gorgoroth here, and
okay.
So, let's finish with they fucking kicked ass, because I'm sure they would have.
All right.
I'm convinced.
Yeah. So,
of course, that also reminds me of very early black metal years, Inferno years, because I don't know if you remember that festival hotel that was close to the castle. The very first one, very tiny thing, which was also very funny because they had normal people mixed in,
with
looking
us oiks.
extremely scared on Sunday mornings with all these black metal people. There was a family sitting at the table like, and then comes Frost, still having his contact lenses and everything, and Christian and a very drunk Silenos like, yeah.
A nervous breakfast. Nervous
And
buffet.
you could see this normal family sitting there going like, what the, where have we been? They were actually generally frightened back then, which was kind of funny to see because, I mean, let's face it, most of the Norwegians are extremely nice guys. So, yeah, we should mention that. But we could also mention who is not very nice, but we're not doing that either. But anyway, so like that was extremely funny, but it was the Bergen bunch that had the worst after parties ever. It was guaranteed to have police ending this, arresting people left, right, and center.
I have been at some of those Nush bills.
Bergen at Inferno has a history, and that history is destroy. I remember a certain Icedale picking off a king of hell off my butt because he was like humping me from the back, and I was dying laughing, going, "I'm not a girl." Well, I don't care. That was how things went at Inferno.
Yeah.
When Bergen was abroad, like it was always hellish.
And zombie Grootler stalking the hotels at 4 in the morning.
Not naming names. But I think you didn't see his dick so often as at the Hole in the Sky.
Yeah, just maybe about half the times, maybe.
Yeah, probably, because I mean, at Hole in the Sky it was a regular. If you hadn't seen his,
Well, it's his hometown. It's more comfortable there,
But he got banned from Garage. Threatened to ban him if he was doing that again. Then when just at closing time, somebody was standing, I'm not naming names, then somebody was standing in the middle of the crossing, flashing. And they were going, oh yeah, thank you. Historic moments.
It's the Bergen way.
I heard there's a new bar now in the place where Garage used to be.
Don't want to know. Just too painful. Too painful.
Well, I mean, losing Garage was, although it kind of went down the last years, but I mean, losing it was, of course, a hit for the Bergen scene. But we're in Oslo now, and we need to talk about Benighted.
Yeah, I'm sure you love that band.
Let's say two things. First of all, it would be my colleague Thomas Strata reviewing them, for sure, because he is a giant fan. He kind of wrecked his back while jumping off their stage at the Eindhoven Metal meeting. So like that band is for him because it's definitely death and definitely brutal. But let me tell you, these are some of the nicest guy ever. I love their frontman, Julien. He's a great guy.
I was spoiling for a fight here.
It doesn't work because like Julien is just one of the nicest guys that you could ever meet. Also pretty happy that he survived the bloody virus that fucked our festival. Because he actually was one of them who contracted, but he got through it. And so I really, really hope they're going to return in 2021. Probably not going to see their whole show because musically it's not really for me, but they kick ass. They're great guys, so whatever. And you review their concert now.
Yeah, it's like getting kicked in the head from about like 390 degrees, which is more than there should be. It's just like it just comes at you from every angle and is so relentless. And there's just this bit where you're almost like punch drunk. You're like you don't know where you are anymore, but just like it's just like we have our own ideas of what we think of big dumb metal, but that to me is like the perfect example of big dumb, but actually technically amazingly brilliant metal.
Well, all I have to say is but that's all I say. But like because I will be found, of course, at the next, and that is one of Britain's greatest bands ever.
Where would Norway be without it?
1980, was it 3? I'm bad at years and numbers, but when did black metal come out? You should know. You're the numbers guy. I'm not. I had to tell my wife, remind me when your birthday is coming up, because then we won't have a trouble. I will never ever remember. But if you remind me, you get a decent present and everything will be fine and you won't be pissed.
You're a year out. You're a year out, which means you're still wrong and a hilly deadly freak. It was 1982.
Was it 1982?
1982, yeah.
Damn it. Nearly close. I mean, this band was the one that gave black metal its name. Venom! Ladies and gentlemen, from the very depth of hell, please welcome. Here we are.
Yeah. And
is there anything we need to say?
Just, they've still got it. Like, even though there's 2 Venoms now.
I'm on the Venom side.
Yeah, they're both good, but like basically, I think people had very low expectations for Venom Inc. But they're actually pretty good. But when you got
Venom.
Well, when you have Kronos, there's so much invested in that.
Yeah, that is what makes the difference. I'm not trying to be bad to say anything bad about Venom Inc. Don't get me wrong here. But where Kronos is, that's where my heart lies, so to speak. And yeah, it's Venom. Like, God fucking damn it. It's where I can sing along to all these horrible songs. They always used to be like horribly. I mean, one of the problems that people seem to have with Venom is that they now have people that actually can play. A great drummer, great guitarist. That seems to be irritating for
What's
people.
that all about?
Yeah, they can't play. What's like wrong with that? But like, I mean, great fucking guys, great fucking brand, great fucking songs, great fucking everything. And I hope they're not beeping out all these. Like, remember, I'm German. I can't speak proper English, so like, don't mind me fucking like we're fucking every fucking thing.
Yeah.
Well, beep, beep. Anyways, like,
the Newcastle brogue is a very unique. I mean, if you're not English, you're probably not you're never going to understand it. It's such a strong accent, the Newcastle accent. Plus,
I watched Taggart, and I understand what he's saying. Any questions? That Newcastle thing is easy.
But that's Scotch, isn't it?
Agreed. No, Scots, not Scotch.
Yes,
so Scottish. Talking about the English pansy.
Yeah, it's because you spent time in Ireland, so you're closer to it.
All right. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. But anyway, so so that's one of 2 bands at the festival this year who, when they came out, everyone thought they were a joke, and then they became one of the most influential bands in our world.
We don't even have to say anything about it. Venom.
Yeah.
And if you make me choose between Iron Maiden and Venom, and I know a lot of Bergen people will hate me for saying that, Venom.
Yeah.
Not even a question as far as I'm concerned. Venom.
Well, they're quite different, really.
And I love Iron Maiden, the old stuff. I don't think any of their last albums are any good. But
not even Brave New World.
Which one was that? One of the
the one with Blood Brothers on it.
Yeah, that one. No, thanks. No. Oh. Anything after Fear of the Dark, you can just nah.
I don't understand you sometimes, Gunnar, even after all these years.
Well, it's pretty simple because it's all fucking boring, which came afterwards. That is one of the most amazing bands, and I usually at festivals go to the encore because then I know I'm getting classic after classic.
Yeah, so when they play black metal, that's just... Are
we talking Venom or Iron Maiden now?
Well, Venom play black metal, obviously.
True. But of course, I'm old. I love Iron Maiden. Don't get me wrong here. I just think all their last albums are completely useless. Don't need any of those. But like the old stuff.
You're so wrong.
I'm so right.
Like what Maiden do isn't necessarily rocket science, but no one else can do it. Like so many of your German bands want to be Iron Maiden, and they just don't have that thing that they do, and it's magic. It's like this
but now they have Yannick Gers, which is also one of the negative points.
Even the last album, that all kind of hour and a half of it, 2 discs of it, was just amazing. Sorry.
Yeah, well, if you want to put me asleep, play this album to me.
Right. So.
But anyway, Venom.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is, their last album is actually pretty listenable.
Venom. The last 2 albums have been great. They're just classic. They're just great rock. They're just great heavy metal.
Exactly. So Venom. So anyway, Venom. I remember like my school buddies calling me insane when I played Venom songs.